We're spending more of our money than ever before on property. House prices have trebled since 1996. But now there's a wave of fear in the financial world. Will it strike the housing market? In this series, I'll be touring the country to find out the truth about the property market. Come and tell us your personal stories, please. We want to find out the truth about property. Tonight, I'm going to find out what runaway house prices mean for all of us.
Some of them didn't get 10 grand for the house. Now they're telling people they've got to pay 10 grand to park the car underneath it. I don't know where they're coming from.
Meet the people desperate to buy.
Quite a big thing that we're going through, signing over a mortgage and getting into debt. This is a big change in my life.
And those who are fighting to keep their homes.
They've taken the fireplace. They've taken the fire out. My God, I could have been in there. I'm sorry.
With the economy slowing down, has climbing on that ladder become a stretch too far? This is my place. It's a rented house in West London. My family love it here. Hello, welcome to our house. Come on in. This is the living room. And in here is Izzy's room. Do you like this room, Izzy? What do you think of it?
It's nice.
Yeah? Can you remember what we called it when we came here?
The princess one.
I remember when we first came to this place and we looked around, and there is no way that if I tried to buy a place like this that I could afford it. I'll be away from home a lot for the next few weeks as I try to get to the bottom of what's really going on in the housing market. Take the key average numbers and look at how they've changed in just over a decade. Wages have risen in real terms by 50%, but that's nowhere near as fast as house prices. They're now 8 times earnings, and homeowners who haven't yet paid off the mortgage spend 34% of their incomes on bricks and mortar. The thing is, you can hear as many economic facts as you like, but you don't actually know what they mean for people until you get out there and meet them. So the BBC spared no expense, and they got me my very own van. Let me show you around. In theory, at least, it's got everything. I can make myself a cup of tea on the hob there. I've got a fridge. But most importantly, I'll be able to travel around the whole country finding out exactly what this means for all of us. I started my journey in the summer. The sun was out and the economic climate was very different. My first port of call, Norwich in East Anglia, where people are going to extreme lengths to get their feet on that first rung of what we all now call the property ladder. Apparently, where I'm going right now, people have been camping out here for weeks just to get their hands on a property. They're all ex-Ministry of Defence, and you can see when you look around you, same formula for each house. Pretty uniform. Looks like these people have been here a while. I think they deserve a cup of tea. Hello.
Hello.
Is this tent the front of the queue?
It is, yes. Number 1.
You must deserve a drink. What did it take to get first in the queue?
To be camping here since the 29th, I think, of July.
Your whole summer?
My whole summer.
Why?
Quite simple, really, to buy a property with my sister. I can't afford to buy a property by myself.
Annington Homes bought up 57,500 Ministry of Defence houses in 1996. While most are leased back to the MOD, so far 15,000 have been sold off to the general public. On offer here, 28 2-, 3- and 4-bed houses, but nobody knows how much they'll cost until the night before the sale. You're first in line. Does that make you the subject of a bit of envy from the other tents around here?
Yes, I have had a few complaints against me.
Complaints?
Yeah, that I'd gone over my 2 hours. I hadn't. In fact, I was on site.
Your 2 hours of leave from the queue.
That's right.
To keep their position in the queue, campers have to follow strict rules and regulations. They're only allowed 2 hours off site each day. So what happens if you are for more than 2 hours? Do they take your tent up and put theirs in its place?
Well, yeah, everyone moves down the queue basically, so they are going to be looking at the first sort of 6 tents. They're going to be scrutinised very carefully. They do clock you, you know, especially me being at the front, I'm the main target.
So paranoia going on almost.
A little bit, yeah, after 6 weeks, does start to mess with your mind a bit.
As first in the queue, Dawn will get first choice of all the houses. Then it's the turn of those down the line. Dawn's childhood friend Tony is third in the queue. Would you both like the same actual house?
We haven't. I don't like discussing it with her in case we both want the same house.
Yeah, but I'm not
You're avoiding talking about it.
No, me and Stephen don't mind what one we get. Dawn, I think, knows what one she wants, but she won't tell anybody. Do you know?
Yeah.
Do you think bricks and mortar are a safe investment?
Depends how you compare it with the past or with the future. I know at some point house prices do have to fall, but I don't think it'll be within the next 2 to 5 years. And if they do fall, it'll only be by a small amount anyway.
You hope. Time will tell.
Yeah.
OK, let me present a nightmare to you. In 15 years' time, your house price hasn't gone up. What about that?
But if you don't plan on moving, it doesn't really matter, does it?
So it's not really the investment you're looking for. It's just to have your place.
Our own space.
What surprises me most about Dawn and Tony is that they have thought about the risk of prices staying flat or falling. They're relaxed about it. Not only are they prepared to accept those risks, they're willing to queue all summer. We'll come back to them on sale day to see if they get the houses they want. But why did prices get so high in the first place? It's supply. Too few homes being built, not enough homes on the market. It's demand. More households wanting a home, cheaper mortgages, meaning we can afford to pay more. It's also investors. People seeing their house as a pension means more people are willing to pay for houses for reasons other than living in them. And it's also sentiment, expectations. If people expect prices to rise, they're willing to pay a premium for the chance of cashing in on that. There were house price booms in the early 70s, the late 80s, and especially the last 5 years. They start in the capital and ripple out across the country. In the northwest, house prices have doubled in the past 6 years. I've come to Manchester city centre to find out how that's affecting first-time buyers here. Right, let's get started. Hello, Manchester. What's your personal experience?
It's a nightmare. Just trying to kind of get something is just not good, really.
They're putting the prices right up here, and I'm thinking, well, no, I don't want to be in debt for the rest of my life.
I think it's one of those things, once you get on the ladder, you're all right, eventually.
My dad's been saying for years now, it's all going to crash, it's all going to crash. I held off for 4 years in the 90s, and I could have made a fortune.
I'd probably say over the last 8 years it's got worse and worse, you know.
This is the truth about property. 1970, actually the average house price, £5,000. There was a boom. You can't really see it here, but there's also a little flop there. Then up in the late 1980s, everyone forgets about this. This was when prices dipped, in some areas by up to 30%. That was really serious. That was the worst we've had of negative equity. Now look at it. Back up here, prices have sort of recovered. Maybe it was sensible around there. Can it really be sensible up here? Can you afford to get a property?
No, my mum's had to remortgage to get the deposit.
How do you feel about that?
getting into debt to help your daughter
Well,
out.
yeah, but it's risky, but what else can you do?
Economists reckon 4 out of 10 first-time buyers under 30 now get money from their families.
Well, I could get 4 times my salary, or I think about 6 times.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's about 60,000.
Right.
To 80,000.
What would that buy you? Could you buy a one-bed flat with that?
If it was in bad condition, maybe really bad condition. But with the way the house price is going up, if I don't get a house now, when will I be able to get one?
That's what I keep hearing from first-time buyers. They're anxious. They think they've got to stretch up to that first rung now. If they don't, it'll be permanently out of reach. But with affordable properties in short supply, what are first-time buyers faced with? I'm going to catch up with James, who's going to take me on a tour of what's available to him near his family home in Greater Manchester. James is a swimming instructor, and on a salary of $14,000, he's been getting mortgage quotes online.
Do you want to hop in this side?
Yeah.
How much could he borrow?
85,000 I've been offered, and that was quoted over the internet.
So that's about 6 times your salary. Are you comfortable? That's quite a stretch.
I would have to work most of the time to actually save that. I'll be definitely looking for an ugly property.
Why?
With my price range.
I see.
What I can afford.
You get an ugly property, you get a bit more space because it's ugly. For your money.
No, you just get a property for your money. It's this one on the right.
Okay. Let's pull up on the left.
Yeah, it's boarded up now.
Oh, it's boarded up. But it's on for 98.
Still would be out my price range.
It's not easy when you get started, really, is it?
No. I think it's a little bit of a dream at the minute.
Even boarded up properties are beyond his reach. So James is considering a much riskier alternative to buying in Manchester. We'll be finding out what that is. As house prices have risen, so has the age of first-time buyers. That's why so many parents now have adult children over the age of 30 living at home.
Hello, is it Kathy?
It is Kathy, hello.
Andy Verity, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, sir. Come in.
Beautiful place you've got.
Thank you.
So how long have you lived here?
It's supposed to be 2 weeks, it's now been a year. Black coffee. Sorry, no, I'll do it. No, I'll do it. Part of the joys of living at home, you have to make your own coffee. And do your own washing. Can I have another one, please?
No.
Do you have to lay the table then?
Bounce off the walls.
If we're doing proper sitting down dinner, yes, I have to lay the table.
Do you get told to tidy your bedroom?
Occasionally. And I can't believe you're going out looking like that, Catherine. I'm thinking, I'm 36 now.
Do you have sugar or anything?
No sugar for me, thanks.
This is God, grumpy old dad.
Hello, God. Nice to meet you.
This is Andy.
Hi there. So what kind of commandments do you issue to your daughter then?
All 10. All 10.
And the rest. Well, he has locked me out a few times recently, haven't you?
Well, I sort of tell her that she has to be in by 10:30. Of course, she's done. Come in 10:30, so I lock the door.
So, what about the whole issue of affordability these days and the situation for first-time buyers in Kathy's position?
I think it's a very difficult situation, and I'm very sorry for people that are Kathy's age and younger, because the property ladder has got such an amazingly high bottom rung now that it's almost impossible, even if they've got a good job and a good salary.
So this has been my home for the last year.
Yeah.
It's actually officially the spare room, which parents use for when nice people came to visit, but nice people have been banned now because I'm living here.
Kathy thinks she may have found a way to own her own home, sharing the cost of buying it with a stranger. She's registered herself on some co-buying websites so she can meet up and pool resources with someone else in the same situation.
So you just sort of advertise yourself on this site, do you?
Yeah, it sounds very sleazy, doesn't it? There we go. It's like a dating website. literally all you do is log on and they ask you to fill in the basic details, name, address, contact number, and your kind of situation.
So what's the latest? Where are you up to with this?
A few people have replied, but it's not been sort of anything positive as such. But I say it's only been a few weeks. The next step will be actually getting together and meeting them and see how we get on. If it doesn't happen, then I go back to renting or staying here. Oh, look, there's somebody else who's gone on there since we've been speaking.
So what's the new one?
Let's have a look at the new one. No image. Mr. DNA, that sounds a bit dodgy.
Mr. DNA, that sounds very dodgy.
Not answered many of the questions, but he's saying...
I've seen the extreme steps people are taking to buy a house. So why is it so important to us in Britain? Is it because it's not so long ago owning a property entitled you to vote? It was the very thing that meant society valued you as a responsible citizen. Now, more young people can't afford it. But there are attempts to help them. The government's offering first-time buyers initiatives. Councils are giving developers public money in return for promises they'll help in the regeneration of whole areas. I've come to Salford, a few miles from the centre of Manchester. There was a time when you could buy a house here for a few £1,000s. And they'd throw in next door for free. That's how hard it was to sell a house here. No estate agent would have dared to describe it as desirable. Then came the regeneration.
We're just coming up to the flagship of that project. You're talking about rundown Victorian terraces being converted into 349 trendy, upside-down houses. Calling all first-time buyers, says on the side. Chimney Pot Park. Trendy chimneys. Strange.
In this development, 91 first-time buyers don't have to stretch to buy a whole house. They can just buy half of it. And it's not like other shared ownership schemes, because they don't have to pay rent on the half they haven't bought. At least for the first 3 years.
Look at that. Gardens on the first floor.
A third of the houses here were offered under the scheme, but most have been sold at the full asking price of up to £140,000.
So why Salford?
It's just much cheaper than living in the city centre, which was just outside of my price range. I live in the city, work in the city and play in the city, but this is really perfect for me in terms of location and price.
At 29 years old, first-time buyer Nick from Stockport wanted to seize the chance to buy. His house is still being built, but it'll look something like this one.
And this is the ground floor bedroom. Is this the sort of place you'd have?
Yes, the bedrooms are downstairs and the living space is upstairs. Nice minimalist design in here.
Yeah, and loads of light coming in.
We've got different herbs in every plant as we go along all the way down. So the idea is that we all dip into each other's neighbours' herbs and, you know, that gets you socialising and talking to each other and you come back and cook at your garden.
What if someone takes it without permission?
Well, that's the idea, you see. It gets you talking to each other, so it's like a community thing you're sharing. They're not my herbs, they're our herbs.
Right. So how much did you pay for your place?
Paid $115,000 for the house and then $5,000 for the parking space as well, so...
$5,000 just for parking, eh?
Exactly, yeah.
$5,000 for parking behind these bollards, but $10,000 to leave it under the block.
How do you think it's going to work out right here in this development?
I think we're going to have a great party atmosphere. It's definitely a young person's environment, but I think we're going to mix well with the people that are already here as well. And you're going to see more services coming into the area as well, just to help it redevelop and regenerate. So I'm really looking forward to it.
So, do local people share Nick's optimism? Just across the road from Chimney Pot Park is an area that isn't yet redeveloped. Families have been living here for generations. Since the original plans for regeneration were announced 10 years ago, people say they've lived in a state of confusion over whether or not their homes will be knocked down. As the area degenerated, their neighbours moved out, their homes boarded up as they left. Jim Parker's lived here with his wife Nancy for the past 21 years. He chairs the local residents committee. He was here when the former residents of Chimney Pot Park were issued with compulsory purchase orders.
It's costing them 10 grand to be able to park their car in the secure parking area.
Yeah.
That's just the parking, 10 grand. How does that compare with the sort of prices people were fetching for their houses a few years ago?
I find that absolutely gobsmacking,
Why?
to say the least. Well, some of them didn't get 10 grand for the house. Now they're telling people they've got to pay 10 grand to park the car underneath it. I don't know where they're coming from. It's just gobsmacking.
When the houses in Chimney Pot Park went on sale last year, local people were given the opportunity to buy, but only 16 took up the offer.
What sort of prices were they looking at, the locals, when they did have the chance to buy?
Well, the original pricing was 99,000. The average wage for people in this area is £13,500 per annum. £99,000 house, £140,000 house.
Yeah, it's about 8 times earnings, just a little less.
Exactly. You know, that's the truth of the matter.
People here have objected to the council's latest plans to pull down 52 houses in the area. Jim's house will stay up, but across the street they'll be demolished. Most of the street is already derelict.
Come in. This is our house. It's a traditional terraced house. The house was actually bought in 1962 by my mother and father. Myself, my brother, my sister, and all brought up in the home. When the house was handed on to my brother and sister and I, when my mum died. So it's just a family home. It didn't feel as if I've ever been away from it.
Kevin and Karen have been told their house is coming down.
So frustrating when you own your own house, like a few of the neighbours in the street.
Yeah, and they've kept it up to a good standard anyway. You know what I mean? Why should we?
And they want to move you out. It's like social cleansing. They keep saying that all the.
They don't want people like us. I don't know what's wrong with us, Kevin, but they don't want people. They want money people in the area.
The council say they aren't trying to push local people out and are rehousing them within the area. They say it's essential they get what's known as a good social mix. And just like the developers, they argue Urban Splash has been good for the area.
If you're dealing with a street and say half of the properties are inhabited and half not, you can't just knock down the ones that are uninhabited. And what we had to do was to take some difficult decisions, and we're now seeing the positive results of that.
Regeneration is having an impact here. Since the Chimney Pot Park development, house prices have risen.
It is important that these prices are improving in line with what is happening in the rest of the country, because if it starts to lag behind, it's an indication of lack of confidence in the area.
But are price rises a good thing? An official report for the government's warned that rising house prices create a social divide between the property haves and have-nots. A redistribution of wealth upwards. Is that a mark of success or a sign of failure? Even buying half a house at Chimney Pot Park would stretch a first-time buyer like James, but now I know just how far he's willing to go to find something he can afford. Bulgaria.
I'm here, looking for an apartment. Yeah, as close as I can to the beach, or at least some sort of sea view. And there's a couple of properties I've got in mind. Okay, follow me, I'll show you the sea.
For James, it's a relief that he can actually find properties that don't bust his budget.
I'm looking for either a studio apartment or a one-bedroom apartment to rent it out as a holiday home, as an investment.
This is what the property guy is showing us. He says this is similar to what I would get for €40,000. It would be a private place where you need a swipe card to get in. This would be the living space. Access to the balcony as well. Nice view over there. There's plans to build a golf course. That'll be about €60,000 for a property like this.
I'd say it would be an investment over, you know, about a 5-year period until like I paid it off. Property prices would have gone up by then. And they said like property prices are going up 12% a year.
Here's another 1-bedroom apartment. A little bit smaller than the last one. You've got the balcony. Nice big balcony. Oh, you can sit out here. The sun's shining. Oh, that's not someone's toilet. That's going straight from their house to my house.
It could be, mate.
Could be.
That's why this one's so cheap.
Yeah. It's where the sewage goes through.
I'm a bit worried about James taking on a big mortgage to buy abroad. Can he really count on the price going up? In Bulgaria they are, but in Estonia and parts of Spain prices have dropped 10%. And official voices have warned of an oversupply of property in Eastern Europe, a glut in other words, which may push prices down. Back home, the number of first-time buyers is dropping as more people decide they can't afford to buy. London's got the worst affordability. I'm going to meet a young family who are renting in the capital. Alex and Gavin, both of them journalists, have rented here for 2 years. Alex works from home, so she uses a second bedroom for her job. This has left little room for their baby.
Kitchen just down here, which is quite cramped. And then this is where V sleeps.
Not a vast amount of
niche,
space.
Yes. We've got study stroke second room. We've got a little garden, which is in a state of utter disrepair.
We're really lucky to have it.
Yeah.
It's just so expensive, and we just can't get another bedroom.
It's at a level where we're spending so much on rent that we can't save anything. You know, we're working. Both of us work very hard, and we're going nowhere. I mean, we're swimming really hard to stay still.
Alex and Gavin pay £1,300 a month to rent this 2-bed flat. If you were spending that £1,300 on a mortgage instead of on rent, you're probably talking about somewhere between 150 and 200 grand you could borrow with those monthly payments. Would that buy you anything like what you got here?
No, nothing. No, it wouldn't even buy you half of that, I don't think. No, it wouldn't. In fact, it wouldn't buy you half of that. Well, the one 2 doors down has just been redeveloped and went for... You said £500,000, didn't you?
Yeah.
Went for
£500,000?
Yeah.
And I think that's the same as... Well, it can't be much different to what we've got here.
Alex and Gavin really need more space for themselves and V. Between them, they earn a good salary of 45 grand a year. But what could they afford to buy if they stayed in their area? You spotted something in your street?
Yeah, 2-bedroom flat for 375,000.
Top floor, so no garden.
That's a lot of money. I mean, OK, so if you're getting an interest-only mortgage and you're lucky enough to get one for 6%, probably around about $1,750 a month sort of mark.
$1,750 a month?
That's my entire...
Yeah.
That's my...
Yeah.
That's almost my entire salary after the tax man taken.
With prices so far out of their reach, what are they thinking of doing?
We're buying a barge. Dutch barge.
A barge?
A barge, yes.
That's a radical move.
Well, I don't know if it is. I mean,
it's a lot cheaper than a house.
It's a lot cheaper than a house.
You get a lot more for your money. But really, we can go where we like. We're free as a bird.
Let's take a closer look at this.
Gavin and Alex are saying there's no point even trying to get on the property ladder because it's too far out of their reach. But will their gamble on the boating ladder pay off? And will they get the boat safely from the Netherlands across the North Sea? By buying, selling or renting, everyone's taking a view on the market. I did. See that place up there, that 2-bed maisonette on the top right of that block? I bought that when I was 29. I paid 78 grand for it in 1998, and I was convinced I was getting ripped off. It's next to a ring road. And then I watched the price go up and up and up. And in 2004, I thought, this is ridiculous. I'm going to take the money and put it in the bank. I'm going to sell it, and I'm not going to blow it by buying another property which might fall in price. I'm going to rent. And then if prices come down, I'll have enough money to afford a place big enough to house my family. Did they? No, they didn't. I've now been renting here for 18 months with my wife Sarah and 2 children.
Here you go, Izzy. Sandwich, cheese and apple.
Would you like me to get you a drink? Yeah.
The idea was, we'll rent for a while and see what happens to house prices. I figured I'd lose if they went up very sharply, but I wouldn't lose if they were more or less flat or if they fell. Guess what? They've gone up quite sharply. I don't know what you think about that at the moment, Sarah, because like you were in favour of doing the move at first, weren't you? But what do you think these days?
It's a bit of a balancing game. I think we get a lot of things here, living here, renting. It's a fab area, great amenities. But the only thing I would say about long-term rental income is that obviously it would be great if we could afford to rent this till the day we die. But obviously when we get to retirement age, we wouldn't be able to afford it at all. I mean, it is only affordable by people who are working professionals, this house. And that's the reason why I'm more motivated to move on from this and buy in the medium term.
Yeah.
Ah! This is disgusting. Oh, I'm not touching it.
It's early September, and for people camping out in Norwich, it's the big day. They finally get the chance to buy a house. After camping for 6 weeks, it's time to pack up. But it's not over yet. Even Tony has to wait while her friend Dawn picks the house she wants.
It's really annoying because, you know, people have had 6 weeks to make their minds up and they still haven't, or they might have done, but they're not sort of telling us what house they're going to go for. So, you know, we're a bit peeved, really, so. Farewell, home for 6 weeks. Thank God it's gone. Hey, do you know what house you're going for yet, or what?
Pretty much decided, yeah.
Well, do you want to tell us all so we can all make our minds up?
No? Yeah, go on, I'll tell you. Number 41.
41, it is 41. Well, that's what they said last night, but... Right, so we can all make our minds up. Now, to get that, we can make our minds up at last. You know, 6 weeks to the day, mate, they.
Last. Right.
Fine. Campers were only told the prices of the houses last night. They cost up to £157,000, 25% less than the official average house price.
Would you like to follow me, Dawn?
Yeah.
We're going to start the process.
And my sister, she's buying the house with me too.
Okay, come on up.
I don't know, I think everyone's generally excited. You know, it's quite a big thing that we're going through, signing over a mortgage and getting into debt. But I'd probably say I'm the one that's not most desperate, but this is a big change in my life.
Okay, so can we have 2, 3 and 4 as well, please?
Hi there.
Hi, Dawn. Dawn.
Hi.
Yeah, can I see it? Claire. Dawn and Claire. Hi, Claire. I'm Giles. This is Giles.
Good to see you.
Giles, we will take you out, okay? Choose a property you want and then come back to me, okay?
This is number 41.
Right, in you go. Come on.
This is the bathroom. Yes, please wipe your feet.
The one Dawn's picked is a 4-bedroom house costing £154,000.
Dining room. And kitchen, which we will eventually knock through and make one.
Are you? That's what you're going to do, yeah. Good plan, yeah.
And I wanted this room because of the views outside. I'm just overjoyed at the moment. This is going to be our house now, nobody else's. So hopefully no one else should be able to look round this house now, should they? Would they? No.
As well as selling the houses, Annington Homes has solicitors and mortgage brokers standing by. If she wants to get the house she's reserved, Dawn's got just 28 days to get the mortgage. It's going to take 4 times Dawn's salary to buy just her half share of that house. She'll be lucky to get a mortgage below 6%. 5 years ago, the best deals were under 4%. Before the recent rises, interest rates were still lower than they've been since the 60s. Money's been cheap for years, and many of those who've already got houses are tapping the equity by borrowing more against their property. John London paid £95,000 for his home 5 years ago. He reckons its current value, 168 grand.
If I see something I like, I instantly buy it. My car, that cost me $12,550 when I bought that, and it was all on my little plastic friend, the credit card.
John is a 26-year-old estate agent from Colchester. His first property was a bit of a stretch.
I had an income of £10,000 basic salary at the time, and the mortgage that I got on the property was £95,000, and it was sort of 8-9 times my salary, which is quite scary. I'd probably sort of got a couple of credit cards at the time, and I believe I had a loan as well at the time, probably already sort of in debt by about £15,000 at that time. So sort of buying a house was probably not the best thing to do at that particular time. I should have really concentrated on clearing that debt first of all.
John took out what's known as a self-cert mortgage, which means he didn't have to prove his earnings, but he was faced with a higher rate of interest.
After I moved in, I wasn't earning sort of enough money to pay for everything, so instantly bits were on credit cards, on loans, etc. to just make a living. But at the same time, I was still buying everything for my new house. I was excited because I got a new house, so I wanted to buy new things for it. So I bought a new 50-inch plasma TV, and I bought a summer house. I bought a hot tub.
By releasing equity, he's turning bricks and mortar into ready cash. It's a big trend. £49 billion worth of equity was released last year.
I've remortgaged 3 times now. The first time I had the mortgage for $95,000, and then I remortgaged and I got, I believe it's about $110,000, $115,000, and I've remortgaged again, and that's for $135,000. Each time doing it to get that cheque to pay off my credit cards, loans.
The more John taps his equity, the more he needs house prices to rise.
My next remortgage, I'm probably going to remortgage for about $145,000, $150,000. If I can't remortgage in January, perhaps because I've spent too much money on other luxuries that I shouldn't have done, then I'm going to be stuck with £1,000 plus mortgage every month, and that's on top of all other bills, so that's going to be very scary. I'm going to have a nice Christmas, but perhaps not a nice after Christmas.
John's taking a double gamble, that his house price continues to rise and his salary goes up faster than his repayments. If not, he could be in trouble. John's keeping his head above water, but what happens if you can't? There have been 5 interest rate rises in just over a year, and because of the credit crunch, the cost of money's gone up by even more than the Bank of England wanted it to. 125,000 mortgage holders are in arrears, and repossessions up by 30%. Many of those defaulting on their mortgages are buy-to-let. Some buy-to-letters are forming companies which have run into trouble after purchasing dozens of properties. What these companies are all about is trying to get a house for less than its market value, and they do that by advertising on TV and in the local papers, in the national papers, saying, if you've got financial worries, come to us, we'll buy your house off you for less than its market value, and you'll be able to live there renting for the rest of your life. At least, that's what's supposed to happen. 72-year-old Shirley is from Cheshire. She turned to one of these companies. She'd fallen into debt after a house caught fire, and she was underinsured.
I borrowed money from the wrong people because the bank wouldn't help me. I was getting deeper and deeper, and I was panicking. I was thinking of selling and going into somewhere rented. And then I thought, well, if I do that, I'm on a treadmill. Again, after I've paid all my debts, I've gotten very little left. In the end, I saw this ad, repossession stopped. We buy your home. You stay in it and you pay us rent. I rang them. They were round in a couple of days. Oh yes, we'll buy it off you. We'll pay all the solicitor's fees, you've no need to worry, and you can stay in here and it'll be $300 a month rent. I mean, that It's fantastic.
Shirley sold her house for $60,000, knowing it was valued at $85,000. She then started paying rent, but soon letters started arriving for her new landlady, Lisa Welsh. A mortgage lender, Southern Pacific, was chasing payments on Shirley's house, and the case was going to court. The whole point of this deal was that you could stay in your home and solve your financial problems. When did you realise that that would be in jeopardy?
4 months into it, when I got this letter saying that it was being repossessed by the mortgage company for lack of payment.
Shirley says she tried to contact the lender to pay Lisa Welsh's mortgage for her, but her calls weren't returned. Just 8 months after selling, fearing the house was about to be repossessed, Shirley moved out. I asked her if she'd show me the house. We didn't expect what we'd see. So this is it, 7 years in this place. There's no one in there, no one living there, is there?
No. Well, look, they've smashed the place to pieces.
It is a mess.
God.
Because it's been left empty, it's been a target for break-ins.
They've taken the fireplace. They've taken the fire out, my God. They've taken the wall lights. They've taken the lights out. I'm sorry, but... And they just leave it to rot.
I can't quite understand why it's still empty. How long did you live here for?
About 8 years. Yes, it was a beautiful place. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I could have been in there, in that beautiful house, all my pot plants, I'm sorry. That was memories. That was my home. That was somewhere that I really took pleasure looking after. And look at it. Yeah. It's just a slum. Why?
Well, we'll try and find out for you. There's something that's puzzling me about Shirley's story. It's difficult to know exactly what happened to Shirley. She sells her house at a knockdown price to this company calling itself Repossessions Stopped, run by Richard Dewsbury, and that company sells it on to Lisa Welsh. Then Lisa Welsh defaults on her mortgage and the house is repossessed. But Shirley's lost her home and it hasn't even been put back on the market. It's just like some sort of giant mess-up. I'm determined to get to the bottom of what's happened to Shirley. Over in the Netherlands, Alex and Gavin, who've chosen to opt out of the property market, are seeing their new home for the first time.
I was completely gobsmacked, and I still am actually. I can't quite believe we've done this. I don't know if it was stupid or foolhardy or a really good idea. I still haven't decided. But, yeah, it's quite scary, isn't it?
Yeah, very, yeah. I mean, now it's the crossing into the across the channel, which is quite an undertaking.
Alex's dad has come along to help get the boat back safely. It's cost them £100,000. What do they get for their money?
And this is our kitchen, which is okay. And then this is going to be the living area down here, the living room. And we've got another couple of rooms, but you have to duck because it's a bit cramped. That's why we're moving the stairs. And this is going to be my office. Oh. This is the This is going to be, it doesn't look like much now, but it's going to be a little guest room. I think when we can afford to, we're going to put some portholes in, so make it a bit lighter, and we want it to be really, individual, unique guest room.
Alex and Gavin are going to moor the boat in Suffolk. It's cheaper than mooring in London. So how much money will they save compared to renting?
It's going to work out about 700 quid a month cheaper. That's without taking into account the commute, which shoves it way back again, because that's another 450, 500 quid a month.
This is V's room. And I think we're going to put a skylight in the ceiling to make it a bit lighter. But otherwise, it's quite a sweet little room.
How do you think V's going to like it?
Well, given that she hasn't got a room at all at the moment, I think she's going to be really excited to realise that it'll be all her own space. So I can't wait for her to see it, actually.
The worries of not being able to afford a flat, or being in the hop to landlords, or worrying about interest rates with vis-a-vis mortgage companies and property values. I mean, all those concerns have certainly been replaced by another set of concerns. It's just replaced one set of problems with another.
One being Gavin's never actually sailed before. He's got the support of a skipper and father-in-law, but he's still got to get the boat across the North Sea to Suffolk.
A bit nervous. You know, she's not really designed for the open sea, so you're just worried about that, really.
I think the more serious members of the family are concerned that it probably isn't a good financial investment, and if you're out of the housing market, it'll just go up. The more romantically inclined members of the family think, what a good idea. I think, providing they don't sink the barge, there won't be a great problem with it. It won't go up like a house, but it shouldn't go down either.
Alex is getting off the boat so she can get back to their daughter, V.
It's a bit weird to have your husband, your father and your home all in the same boat. I've kind of got all my eggs in one basket.
Alex and Gavin have decided not to get on the housing ladder just when prices are starting to fall in some parts of the country for the first time in years. So, is the tide in the housing market turning? Are we about to experience the same problems as they have in the US? House prices now are falling in many American cities, and when people's fixed-rate mortgage deals ended, payments jumped and many couldn't pay. It's called payment shock.
My summer house, and I've got my hot tub in there.
Remember John from Colchester? He could face the same trouble. I want to find out what plans he has. But you're facing this payment shock in January, aren't you, where your interest rates are going to shoot up unless you're able to remortgage. Even if you do, they'll probably go up, won't they?
Exactly. My interest rate is going to be around about the 8% mark in January, so if I can't remortgage then I may have problems.
What about if house prices fell?
If house prices fell, then I'd be in a bit of trouble. I've got to look strongly about repossession. It's a possibility, but at the moment it's a very, very distant possibility, and at the moment I keep my head firmly above water.
I'm a total contrast to you because I worry about this a lot. I worry that house prices will fall. In fact, I even sold my place and decided to rent for a little while because I didn't want to buy a house that was going to fall in price. And I can tell you what, it's really nice to have the proceeds of that sale on deposit with the bank. And I know that money's there if things get bad.
But not only have you lost out in sort of, you know, paying off a mortgage, but how long is it you've been renting? 2 years?
2.5 years.
2.5 years. In 2.5 years, are you saying that the market hasn't gone up at all in your area?
No, for sure. The prices have gone up. I mean, the bet has gone against me so far. But I'd say homeowners betting on house prices going up are taking as much of a risk as I am, reckoning they might go down.
Well, touch wood, so far for me,
I've lived on the property market going up, and I've lived a really good life since I was 21. Why should I stop now?
John and I have both taken risks on the property market. So far, the gamble's working for John, not for me. The problem John's facing is just like the problem that caused the credit crunch in the first place. John reckons he can just about cope. He's got a clean credit record. But 80,000 people over here who don't have clean credit records and subprime mortgages are going to face payments of hundreds of pounds more a month as we go into the new year. No one knows what the economic consequences of that will be. Back in Manchester, I've arranged to meet up with Shirley to see if between us we can get to the bottom of why she lost her home. So we've been finding out a few things about your case. I've got it right here. I guess you knew the company as Repossession Stopped, didn't you?
That's right.
The company was actually called Retail and Domestic Properties, and what they were interested in doing is trying to get houses at below market value so that they could let them out and try to build a business out of it. So a big buy-to-let landlord they were. The trouble was they built it up to 230 properties, so there were 230 people doing what you did, selling and renting back. The trouble was they ran up arrears to the tune of £250,000. £250,000, and basically they went bust.
Yeah.
They went bust in April. So that is why they couldn't pay the mortgage on Shirley's house. She's got an appointment now, which means I've got the chance to do some more digging.
What can I do now?
Well, unfortunately, you've got no legal right to move back into the property or to claim the property as yours again. Unfortunately, because the companies aren't regulated, it is quite difficult to take any action against them. I mean,
Shelter wants the government to set up a mortgage rescue scheme and proper regulation of the companies. They also want an investigation into the adverts used by the type of company that bought Shirley's house to make it clear to sellers they will get less than market value and in some cases could be evicted after 6 months. I've been finding out more about the people who bought Shirley's house from her. It turns out their mortgage arrears got up to £600,000. How'd you get on?
Oh, I learnt an awful lot. I wish I'd have known it before.
Have a guess how much they borrowed on mortgages altogether. Remember that there's 230 properties.
I have no idea.
I can tell you.
Bit big.
£19 million.
19 million?
They borrowed £19 million, yeah.
No.
Now, funnily enough, the company that actually made the decision to press ahead with the repossession that made you lose your home is a big American-owned bank. It's called Southern Pacific Mortgages Limited. It's a big subprime lender. That means it lends to people with bad credit records, and it's owned by a giant US investment bank called Lehman Brothers. And in the US, Lehman Brothers have had a massive problem with subprime mortgages. Over there, they've closed down their subprime unit and lost millions. That may have influenced their thinking. What do you make of all that?
I think it's absolutely disgusting, because I won't be the only one who was made homeless.
There are more than 300,000 subprime mortgages here in the UK. Shirley's case shows subprime loans are funding buy-to-let schemes in Britain. The buy-to-let borrowers who bought her home couldn't keep up their mortgage payments. Let's hope that story isn't one we'll be hearing over and over again. So what's happened to our first-time buyers since we met them in the summer? Have they made any steps onto the property ladder? Over in Norwich, Dawn sorted her mortgage and is waiting to get the keys for a new 4-bed house. Kathy's still living at home. So, did she find anyone to buy with from the internet site she joined?
Although there was quite a lot of interest, there wasn't actually that many that were relevant to my situation. But I think a lot of the people that go on there are very much looking towards an investment, whereas I'm actually looking towards a home. So I have been looking at other options now.
James is back from Bulgaria. He's decided to put his plans of buying there on hold. He's going to stay living at home to save up more of a deposit, and he hopes to buy somewhere in this country in the new year. We've managed to get hold of the man who ran the company that bought Shirley's house, Richard Dewsbury. He's told us he's been trying to do a deal with the subprime lenders to keep people like Shirley in their homes. Since we got in touch, Southern Pacific has finally agreed to discuss that. But for Shirley, it seems too late. Alex and Gavin have moored their new home in Suffolk. They've been settling in for the past 5 weeks and made a home for themselves and their daughter Evie.
It was a big relief to come into Felixstowe, and I don't think there are many people who can say that it's a relief to come to Felixstowe. It was pretty rough crossing. It was a bit sort of, you know, waves got very confused and high and came from all directions and stuff, and just thought we were going to roll right over.
They're getting their barge valued. They spent £100,000 on it. Has their journey onto the boating ladder paid off?
Cool. Big room, Tim?
Yeah, well, these barges are absolutely almost as good as a house.
Right, let's go and have a look and see what's into the bows of the boat. That's really nice, that is. That's a nice feature on these boats. These boats are notoriously difficult to value, these boats, because they come in all different types of condition. As you would probably appreciate when you bought it, it's very much dependent on condition, and also it's almost from a personal point of view. What boat appeals to certain people will attract a better value. I believe on the basis of what we've seen, the boat today would probably fetch something in the region of £150,000 to £160,000 in the UK.
Wow.
That's certainly a bit more.
It's more than we paid, so...
Good.
That's got to be
That's
right.
good to hear, yeah.
Glad to hear that.
The willingness of buyers to go to such lengths is a sign of the value we place on independence, on security, on a sense of self, a token of how much we love our homes. Judging by today's prices, that feeling's stronger than ever. But we haven't always been this infatuated. The Chancellor's been warning we may be heading for economic turbulence. That would truly test our love of property. Next week on The Truth About Property, have rising house prices made you rich?
37 grand.
Yeah.
What's it worth now?
Come on, tell us, don't be shy.
It was on the market for 565.
And then what happened?
And then I sold it. Yeah.
We meet homeowners who can't climb the ladder.
The key problem is the second bedroom.
Wow.
Yeah.
Everyone loves their grandchildren, don't
Yes, I love my grandchildren.
they? But to share the same room as them?
They need their privacy. I need my privacy too.
And I'll be discovering whether property is still a good investment.
And you can catch more of 5 Live's Andy Verity and Wake Up to Money on weekday mornings from 5:30. Or if that's too early for you, why not download the podcast at bbc.co.uk/5live.